Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I'll be solving majority element 2 problem from LeetCode. This is an extension of the previous problem which we have solved in our previous video. That was about majority element. Okay. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I would highly recommend you to watch that video first and then proceed with this video. Let's go through the problem description. Given an integer array of size n, find all the elements that appear more than floor value of 9 by 3 times. In our previous problem, it was more than floor value of n by 2. But as this is an extension of the previous problem, here we need to find the elements which are more than the floor value of n by 3 times. Okay. Here under follow-up, could you solve the problem in linear time and order of 1 space? In this video, we'll see how we can solve this problem. First, we'll start with the very basic approach. We will see the naive solution and then we'll move to the optimal solution. Here, for example 1, you can see that we have this nums array with 3 elements 3, 2, 3 and the output is 3. As the value of n is 3 and 3 by 3 is 1, so here the element 3 is appearing twice, which is greater than 1. Hence the output is. Similarly, in the second example, the value of n is 1. If we do n by 3, then the flooring value would be 0. That is the reason the output is 1, which is greater than 0, right? Similarly, we have 1 and 2. So here the value of n is 2. So if you do 2 by 3, then you will get 0 point something. That means the floor value would be 0. That is the reason we print all the elements which appears more than 0. So now let's see the constraint. So here the constraint is nums.length. That means the given array size would lie between 1 to 5 cross 10 to the power 4. And the values of this array would be lying between minus 10 to the power 9 to positive 10 to the power 9. Okay. So we have to keep this constraint in mind while solving the problem. So to solve this problem, first we will see the naive solution and then we'll move to an optimal solution. So for that, I'll move to my IntelliJ editor. In approach 1, we'll simply calculate the frequency of each element and then we will compare if that is greater than floor value of n by 3. So for example, let's say we are given an array with these elements 2, 2, 2 and 0. Here the value of n is 4. So if you do 4 by 3, then the value would be 1 point something and the floor value would be 1. So we'll check for elements with frequency greater than 1. So here the output would be 2, right? Here to get the frequency of each element, we will require a nested loop where for each element we can get the frequency while traversing this array, right? And then those frequency can be compared with floor value of n by 3. If it is greater than floor value of n by 3, then we'll simply keep that value in our resultant array. Okay. So for this approach, as we are using a nested loop, here the time complexity would be order of n square. And as we are not using any extra space, the space complexity would be order of 1. Let's see the next approach. In approach 2, we can use hash map to keep the frequency of each element. So for example, let's say if we are given this array, while traversing this array, we can simply keep these elements in a hash map along with a count value. So let's say if we have this map here and here we'll be maintaining the key value pairs. So let's say while traversing through this array, we got the first element as 2. The first thing we'll do, we'll check if 2 is present in this map. If it is not present, then we can simply add 2 in this map and then we can set the count to 1. Similarly, for next element, we'll see if this is present. Now this element is present here. Then we can simply increment the count to 2. Similarly, for the next element, we will increase the count as it is already present. And then for the next element 0, as there is no 0 in this map, we can simply add and we can set the count to 1. So once we complete this traversal, we can iterate over this map to check whose count is greater than floor value of n by 3. Okay. So here in this approach, the time complexity would be order of n as we are traversing this array only once, and the space complexity would be order of n as we are using an extra space. So here in this approach, we have reduced the time complexity to order of n, but here the space complexity is order of n. And if you see the problem follow-up question, you will see that it has asked us to solve this in linear time and with order of 1 space. So we'll try to get that solution. Okay. So for that, we'll use the third approach. In this approach, we will be using Moore's voting algorithm. We have already used this algorithm to solve the majority element problem in our previous video. But with little modification to this algorithm, we'll be solving this problem. And with this approach, we will be able to solve this problem with the time complexity of order of n and the space complexity of order of 1. So let's see how this algorithm works. For that, I'll move to my presentation. Here you will get to understand the algorithm. The algorithm is quite simple, but the intuition behind that algorithm is little tricky, which I have explained in my previous video. I would highly recommend you to watch that video also so that you get the intuition behind this algorithm. I will put the link of that video in the description and also in the I button. You can watch it from there. For example, we are given this array with few elements. Here the length of this array is 8 and the floor value of n by 3 would be 2. Here, according to the problem statement, we need to find the majority element whose count should be greater than 2. Okay. So by simply looking at this array, we can say that 7 and 8 are majority element as they appear thrice in this array. So let's see how we can identify these elements using the Moore's voting algorithm. So let's see the Moore's voting algorithm. Here the algorithm looks something like this. So I'll explain each and every line, so don't get panic here. So this is the sample array on which I'll be doing the dry run. So let's first understand this algorithm. Here first we will declare two variables num1 and num2 and we will initialize its value with -1. Okay, and then we will keep two counters 1 and counter 2, and we will set the value to 0 for both these counters. Okay, now I'll explain what this num1 and num2 is. Here these two variables will possibly hold two majority element at the end of this algorithm. So now you must be thinking why there are two variables. So let me tell you, if you read the problem statement carefully, here we are trying to find those elements that appears more than floor value of n by 3 times. That means with this logic we will get at most two majority elements, because for example, let's say if you divide the given array into 3 equal parts, then let's say for example, if we are given this array and if we divide this array in 3 equal parts, each will have one element, right? So now what we are trying to find is, so here we need to find those elements which appear more than one. Then we can never get more than two elements which are greater than the floor value of n by 3. I hope that is clear. If it is not clear yet, let's go through the algorithm and we'll see the dry run, and then things will become much more clear. Okay. So initially we will have num1 and num2 with -1 value, and then we will have these two counters set to 0. So here we have these conditions which we need to check while traversing this array, right? So here the first thing we'll do is we'll check if the element is equal to num1, then we'll simply increment the counter 1. Else if we will check if the element is equal to num2, then we will simply increment the counter 2. Else if the counter is equal to 0, then we'll simply set the num1 with the current element and we'll set the counter 1 with 1. Okay. Else if we will simply check if the counter 2 is equal to 0, then we'll simply set the num2 with the current element and then we will set the counter 2 with value 1. Otherwise we'll simply decrement both the counters. Okay, so let's do a dry run on this array to understand this algorithm better. So we'll start with the first element. Here we have this variables initialized at the beginning of this algorithm. So initially we'll start with the first element. So here the element is 7. So here we'll see if element is equal to num1. The value of num1 is -1. That means it does not match with the current element. Hence we'll move to the next condition. Here the element 2 is equal to num2. The num2 value is -1. Here it does not match. Then we'll move to the next check. If counter 1 equal to 0. Here the counter 1 value is 0. Hence we'll set the num1 with current element and we'll set the counter 1 value to 1. So after this check, we will have num1 as 7, num2 as -1, counter 1 with 1, counter 1 as 1 and counter 2 as 0. Now we'll move to the next element. Similarly for the next element, we'll do the check if it is matching with the num1. Here the value of num1 is 7 and the current element is also 7. That means it's a match. That means we'll simply increment the counter C1. Okay, so after this we will have C1 as 2. Now we'll move to the next element. Again we'll see if this element match with num1. The value of num1 is 7. That means we need to increment this counter C1 and this will become 3. Similarly, we'll move to the next element 8. We'll compare it with num1. Here the value of num1 is 7. So it is not matching. We'll move to the next condition. Here the element 2 is equal to num2. The value of num2 is -1. So it is again a no match. So we'll move to the next condition. We'll see if counter 1 is equal to 0. Here the counter 1 is 3. So we'll move to the next condition. Here C2 is equal to 0, which is counter 2. here the value is 0, that means this condition is met, right? So here what we need to do, we need to set the num2 variable with the current element, and we'll set the counter2 with value 1. So after this we will have num2 as 8 and counter2 as 1. So now the state is something like this, where num1 is 7, num2 is 8, counter1 is 3, counter2 is 1. Similarly, we'll move to the next element, which is 8. Here it will get matched with num2 and we'll need to increment this counter2 to 2. So now after this we'll move to the next element, and similarly we need to increment this C2 to 3, right? And then after this we need to move to the next element, which is 9. Now for this element we'll do a match. If it is matching with num1, the value of num1 is 7, so it's not a match. We'll move to the next condition. We'll see if this is matching with num2. The num2 is 8. We'll move to the next condition. We'll see if counter 1 is 0, counter 1 is 3 here. We'll move to the next condition. Here counter 2 is 0. Here the counter 2 value is 3. That means we need to move to the next condition. Here we will end up in the else part. So simply we need to decrement both the counters. So after this, the counter value will set to 2 for both the counters, right? Then we'll move to the next element. Again, similarly, we'll check for this element if this matches with num1 and num2. As we can see here, the values are different. We'll simply end up in the else block. So after this, we will have to decrement both the counters and it will reduce to 1. So now at the end of this array, we have this state. Now at this point, we cannot say that these two are our majority element. We have to do another check. What we need to do here is we need to check count for each element num1 and num2. So for num1, the value is 7. Here we can see the count of 7 is 3, and for 8 also the count is 3. Now we will compare this count with the floor value of n by 3, which is 2. That means both these elements is greater than floor value of n by 3. So now we can say that these two elements are your majority element, and you can return this as your result. Now, as I have already mentioned that we can get at most two majority elements. It might happen that this array does not have a single majority element, or it can also have one majority element. So let's say if we modify this array a bit, so at this point when we reach this last element of this array, we have this state, right, where we have our counter at 1 1 and the variable was set to 7 and 8. So let's say if I add one more value over here, so let's say I have one extra element 9 here, okay, then at this point what we will do, we will simply move to the next element and then we'll compare it with num1 and num2. So here when we reach to this element and we'll compare it with num1 and num2, so here we will compare it with num1, we'll see it is not a match. We'll move to the num2, it is also not a match. Then we'll simply see if c1 and c2 are 0, both are not 0, then we will end up here, right, in the else part. So after this iteration, our counter 1 and counter 2 will reduce to 0. Okay, now at this position the counter value is 0 and num1 is 7 and num2 is 8. Now let's see at this state if these two elements are majority elements. So for that, first we need to get the count of this element in this given array, and then we need to compare with the floor value of n by 3. So here as we can see, the value of n here is 9, right, as the number of elements present here is 9. So what we need to check, we need to check that count of these two elements where 7 appears thrice and 8 also appears thrice. We need to check if this count is greater than floor value of n by 3. So here if you see, the floor value of n by 3 is 3 and count for num1 and num2 is 3, which is not greater than this value, right? That means these two values are not majority element. That is the reason why I said that even after these checks, we need to check the count and we need to compare it with the floor value of n by 3, so that we can say if these are our majority element or not. Now we will see the demo code in Kotlin and Java. So for that, I'll go to my IntelliJ editor. So here is my Java solution. If you see, I have written a majority element to function where I am taking a integer array, and here I have initialized num1, num2 with -1 and c1 and c2 with 0. Similar to what I have shown in the presentation, I am iterating over this array and I am comparing if the element is equal to num1, then I am incrementing the counter 1. Else if the element is equal to num2, I am incrementing the counter 2. Else if the counter 1 is 0, I am simply setting the value of num1 with the current element, and I am setting the value of c1 with 1. Else if counter 2 is equal to 0, then I'll simply set the num2 with current element and I'll set the counter 2 with value 1. Else we will simply decrement both the counters, right? So once we are done with this for loop, we will simply have two values in num1 and num2, right? And next we will simply create a array list of majority elements, okay, which will be returning from this function. But before that, what I am doing, I have reused this counter 1 and counter 2. I have set both to 0. So here I am iterating over nums array. I am simply checking if it is matching with num1, then I am incrementing the counter 1. If it is matching with the num2, I am incrementing the counter 2. And then I am checking if counter 1 is greater than nums length by 3, which is nothing but your floor value of n by 3. Here, as we are dividing two integers, we will simply get a integer value which will be your floor value. If this condition is met, then only we will be adding this number to the majority elements array list, and we'll do the similar thing for the num2, right? If it is greater than nums length by 3, then we'll add this variable in the majority elements. So this is the code. I'll simply run this code for you. So here I have taken this example where we have 3 1s, 3 2s. I'll reduce to 2 3s. So let's run this. So here, as we can see that the length is 8, so we'll simply get 1 and 2 as our result, right? So here, as you can see, we got 1 and 2. So now here, one thing I would like to highlight is, so right now this code is working, right, for this input. But let's go to the problem statement. Here, if you see, we are given this constraint, right, where it is saying that your values can lie between negative 10 to the power 9 to positive 10 to the power 9. That means, so here what we are doing is we are initializing num1 and num2 with -1, right? But now we can have negative numbers as well. So it's better to take the lowest possible number. So what I can do here is I can simply take integer value, okay, integer dot mean value, okay. So we have this mean value, right? And here what we can do is we can take the similar one, integer dot mean value, and here what we can do is we can simply increment it by 1. So here what we are doing, we are simply considering the first two elements of your range as a possible majority element, right? And while we go through this algorithm, we'll simply keep on updating these values. So if you run this program here, it will give you the same output, okay. So even if you have negative values over here, it will run successfully. Similarly, I'll show you the Kotlin code. It is very similar. There is no major difference between these two codes. So if you see, I have written a majority element 2 function over here, which takes an int array, and then I have set the value num1 and num2 with the minimum possible values, and then we have this counter set to 0, and then similarly we are iterating over this array. Here in Kotlin we have when construct similar to the if else. What we are doing here is we are simply checking if element is equal to num1, then we'll incrementing the counter 1. Similarly, if it is matching with num2, we'll be incrementing the counter 2. Otherwise, if c1 is 0, then we'll simply do this operation. If c2 is 0, then we'll do this. Otherwise, we'll decrement both the counters. So it is very similar to the one we have seen in Java code. And here to track the count of num1 and num2, we keep this counter to 0, and then we are iterating over nums. We are simply checking if it is num1 or num2. Accordingly, we are incrementing the counter, and here we are comparing if it is greater than num size by 3, and accordingly we are adding it to the list, right, and we are returning it. So I hope now the algorithm is clear to you. To understand the intuition behind this algorithm and to understand why this algorithm works, you need to watch my previous video on majority element. I would highly recommend you to watch that video, so that you can get to understand what is the intuition behind it. I've explained the intuition behind this algorithm in much detail, so do watch it. That's all about this video. If you learned something from this video, please hit the like button, and if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and press that bell icon so that you get notified for our upcoming new videos. Thank you for watching.